We are back from the City of Roses. Alongside Brittany Neighbors, I'm Jeff McCarriger. This is Borderline, and what a weekend. As tired as we all are from all the travel and just this crazy part of the schedule,
Yep.
we had to pop on and do a show. So, speaking of
Absolutely.
shows, I was gonna say congratulations on episode number 80.
What?
But I started
insane.
looking at it. This is actually episode number 81 because
What in the world?
I was looking at the numbers because our numbers weren't matching up with what Rosie has, when she posts the show for us. So last week I had, episode 79, she had 80. I just realized it for the first time. So what they did was they counted. Remember that first one we did where we just kind of popped on and did a little pilot? And I think we had Stacy on with us, maybe?
Maybe.
Basically, we were just testing just to make sure that the
that's number one, huh?
And everything. Yeah, so they counted that as number one. So happy belated episode number.
Let's go. 80? That's insane, Jeff. Way to go, man.
Actually 81, but yeah. So what a weekend, dude. I mean, we've got so much to talk about. First off, I mean, just off the top here, and I'll let you rant about top 10 because our top 10 this week is probably about as difficult as it has ever been for us after what we saw this weekend. But just real quick, hey, congratulations to all the players. You do live stream pretty much all day on Friday and Saturday, and so you got a chance. You get the chance to see pretty much everybody. I feel like, or a lot of players.
A lot of players.
So you know this even better than I do because I just kind of mosey around the featured courts and sometimes head out into the main area. But the level of play that I saw, I remember on one of our podcasts early in the season. What did I want to see? I wanted to see greatness, right? I didn't want to see a bunch of bags going off the board, a bunch of airmail attempts going off the board, a bunch of roll shots going off the board. Like, if you're going to do that, I want to see greatness. Well, put a bag in my mouth because that's what I've seen. I mean, it's incredible. Like, the level of play this season is absolutely insane. And I hate to say that because I feel like that word doesn't even do it justice anymore. But, man, the players, all of them, from top to bottom, there were very few easy matches, especially when we got down to the final 20 or 30 matches. But just incredible, Bernie. So much fun to be a part of and to follow that and watch that all day. I mean, I wish everyone at home could see all the qualifying that goes behind the scenes and the level of play, because the backyard players who watch us would be blown away.
Yeah, it's and it's so different. It's so different from just 2 years ago. That's what's incredible to me. Like, the level of play has risen, and you got to give some of these folks credit, man, because some people have kind of dropped down because they haven't been able to really adjust to the number of people that are playing at such a high level, right?
Right.
Look, we have to do top 10. We don't have to do. We've chosen to do top 10 lists, and I cheated because I cheat. And I started going through the rankings, right, and looking at it. I was like, you can't do a top 10 list because if you just go off the top 10 of the rankings, there's players that have to be in there that aren't even in the top 15. There is a player who has won a singles national that's not in the top 15. Last name Rawls, not Allen.
Yeah,
and that's crazy. I mean, he had a rough tournament this weekend by his standards, and I think that dropped him down a good bit. So I'm like, how do you not have a national winner? There's only been 3. How do you have one of the singles winners not in your top 10? Well, he's not even in the top 15.
Yeah, and I did on that note, I actually texted Trey this morning because I just wanted to clarify. When you go on the website and look at the current rankings, that is not taking into consideration them dropping their lowest score. So for those who don't know, there are 4 nationals.
Yeah.
See, did you hear that? Nationals.
I heard. It's very
nationals.
Good. Very good.
And the players get to drop their lowest score. So that is not reflective in the standings yet. So obviously, like Justin Burton Jr. right now, pretty certain that he would drop this last one because I think his first 2 were really good. Alex Rawls, pretty sure he'll probably drop this one because his first 2 were good. So the standings right now are not totally reflective of how they're going to finish at the end of the season once they get to drop the score. But point well taken though, and it was I'm telling you, it was super difficult to do my top 10.
I'm going to scroll down to number 99 and tell you who that is. Nope. I'm going to tell you who number 97 and 99 are in the current rankings.
What is it,
Trey
Ryan Windsor? Because that was a
Birchfield,
huge swing and a miss for me last week.
Trey Birchfield, Tanner Halbert, 97 and 99. That's how good the pro division is.
Yeah, and Trey Birchfield was world champion
2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago. Yeah, that's right. Because Mark was last year.
Yeah,
Just
2 years ago.
Yeah. And now barely in the top 100.
Remember when we were talking about best player on the planet back in January, February? Kyle Malone wasn't even a question, right?
Yep, I know.
56th.
In my top 10, I've got my top 10, and then I have a few notables, which is question marks. Like, where'd they go? And that's one of them. That's one.
I mean, I was looking through this list, and now granted, some of the ones that are up here at the top, obviously, I mean, there was one person that had the number one player in the world, his original number one player. That guy's a genius. So Devin Harbaugh is currently the number one player in the world. But I mean, we just going through this list. Who do you take out? Harbaugh, Richards, Alan Rawls, Caleb Batson, Justin Burton Jr., Jake Gore, Joe Neistat, Fisher Hamilton, Hunter Thorne, Jake Trzynski. That's your top 10. Who do you take out to put Tony Smith in?
Well, that's why they are our very own power rankings.
Yeah,
you can do whatever the heck you want.
I
can't wait to. I mean, that being said, the fact that you're so stressed about it, I cannot wait to hear.
I don't know. Dude, it's in flux. I won't even know till we get to it because I've been going over it back and forth. Like, who do I take out?
I think I like mine. I actually think I'm pretty comfortable with mine because with mine, I kind of went by, all right, who do I think can beat who? And I did cheat like you did a little bit, and I didn't look at the current rankings because I kind of knew those in my head already and had a good feel for those. I did look at how they finished, so mine might have a little bit of recency bias over the last 72 hours plus maybe a little bit of Erie.
Yeah, recency bias. We're going to talk about that. That's something I didn't put up. For those of you at home, Jeff and I have come up with a little system now that we just kind of share ideas to come up with an outline. So we don't just ramble on, right? Jeff's very good at keeping things.
A lot of good it's doing right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I got accused of recency bias this weekend, and I was like, yeah, that's how sports work. It's what's happening now, not 2 years ago, not last year. It's recency bias. That's what sports are, and to act like it's not is kind of silly, right? I mean, it just, I don't know, like that phrase recency bias doesn't make sense to me. Right, because it gets used a lot, and announcers are always guilty of it. But
again, I could give you a college basketball example. I could give you a baseball example. I'll give you baseball.
Give me both.
It was a few years ago, right, when the Washington Nationals won the World Series. Started out the season 39 and 41, something crazy like that, and went on this incredible streak. So yeah, when late in the baseball season, when you're talking about the Washington Nationals being one of the best teams, it's recency bias because they got really good.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens. Sports.
People get better and they get worse as the season goes on.
It's all about recency bias because you're talking about who's best right then.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about this with. I'm trying to segue into one of the things that we might be talking about as far as young players because this is where my recency bias accusation came from.
Okay, well, we've got
We got a long way to go.
We also wanted to talk about Portland, but you know what? This is much more fun.
Let's talk Portland because I've got a lot to say about Portland.
Okay, because I also love what you had to say and what we both have to say about the direction you're going with Baby Goat. Mm-hmm. So I like that too. All right, we're gonna do Portland first in our travels.
Yeah.
All right, give me a first off Portland. Don't they call West Virginia like weird, wild, and wonderful West Virginia? Portland needs to come up with some sort of slogan like that because as far as the area goes geographically, it's one of the most beautiful places that I've been. I mean, the Columbia River and the Willamette River, however you say it, when they split and the Willamette goes downtown, the Columbia River goes out into the mountains. I mean, it is just absolutely gorgeous. When the sun sets, moon rises, you can see Mount Hood off in the distance. Just fantastic. But then you dive a little bit deeper in the city, and man, wow, it is weird, wild, and wonderful. It is all three.
It's interesting because what they've done, they've decriminalized pretty much all drugs in Portland or in Oregon in general. Well, what that's done has created an influx of people that just want to do them out in the open.
Yeah.
And so it's created a very rough scene because what they made these decisions without thinking it through and creating an infrastructure to handle the decision. Right. I don't necessarily hate the decision because it's been done in other countries around the world and been very successful. But what they did in Oregon was just say, all right, we're doing it, but we're not going to give any hospitals out there for people to go. We're not going to do anything else. So basically, it's like one large encampment. It's strange and it's
That's
uncomfortable. And I mean, and like, and
yeah.
look, and people know I lean a little left. So it's of all the people to be bothered by it, I would be one of the last ones in our cornhole world to be bothered by it. But it's uncomfortable, and it's interesting because when you go across Willamette River, you're in Washington State, and it's a town called Vancouver, Washington, and they basically have signs everywhere saying "Stop, go back."
Hey, Oregon, stay out.
Yeah, you stay over there. You're not welcome here. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, every storefront has a sign that says we refuse service. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. And
Yeah.
it's in big letters in every storefront. They're basically saying we want none of it.
Yeah.
The laws are different right over that river. I mean, it's interesting because they get the same beauty.
You do you and stay on your side of the river.
Yeah, you stay over that bridge. And I just think if you found a way to help those people, if you're going to let them just go crazy and do, I mean, I saw it with my own two eyes. I saw people shooting up heroin. I'm assuming it was heroin, right, broad daylight, right out in the open.
Yeah, a
Saw
lot
it.
of drug use. Yep.
And,
Well, and
you
it's
know,
and it just it leads to just awful scenes throughout the and I don't want to make it sound like it's the whole city because it's not.
No,
There are definitely pockets and like this even happened. Stacy told me to take a picture, so I did. You know, I mean, the first image you see when you walk into the airport was this. I don't know if you can see that.
oh, the trash.
Yeah. And it might be tough to see, so I took a picture of it. But I mean, just trash everywhere in the airport.
It's a dirt.
And again, not the entire airport. I don't want to make it sound like we're walking through trash to get to the gate.
Not a great
but
airport.
There are little pockets of it. It's just trash. It's like, I don't understand how you allow your city because it's beautiful. Again, it's a gorgeous city, but it's just being totally just destroyed
Run over
by some
absolutely
people.
Run over. And one of my Uber drivers, was taking us back to the airport last day. We were talking about it. He's lived there for decades, and he's like, 10 years ago it wasn't like this. You still had the kind of weird and wild kind of Portland, and it was fun. And then it just got out of control, and it's as if they didn't create any infrastructure for their planning. And this is what happens when you don't plan far enough ahead. When you're very short-sighted in your vision, you end up with huge problems, and it's going to take that city a long time to come back.
I think so too, because it's a lot bigger city than I remember it being. I mean, it's
gotten a lot bigger. I was there in the 90s.
Yeah,
it's a lot bigger.
It's huge. Yeah. And you're right, because it's a big city. It's like my mom used to always say, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems.
Right.
Same thing. Little city, little problems, big city, big problems. And it's
because we had a decent little hotel for some of the staff that was like right there, like less than maybe about a half mile from the expo center. And we had some of the girls that were staying there were just afraid. They ended up shacking up in our staff Airbnbs because I drove by it. That's where I saw all this going down. So basically you have the hotel, a restaurant, like a Burger King, and a gas station. And it's all right, just like every other, Marriott Courtyard scene around the country, right? There's all this stuff kind of together. And it's just rampant. It's all out in that parking lot. And what do people do that are hooked on drugs like that? And I hate to speak in generalizations because it's awful and it's terrible, but they'll tell you the most important thing is the next fix, right? And they've got to find money for that next fix. And so if you're just walking around average Joe, you're kind of a target. And it's
it's interesting. It's funny you say that because I'm probably about as normal looking of person as possible. I mean, you guys make fun of me for it sometimes when I walk in, because I just am.
Hey, I was here.
Yeah. See, there we go. And walking around, I truly felt like, I don't know, maybe this is just me being oversensitive, but I truly felt like sometimes when I was walking into a restaurant or a brewery on our final day or whatever, I truly felt like some of the people there, like it was like record scratch, like,
oh, for sure,
who's this guy?
Yeah,
what is this guy wearing jeans and a clean T-shirt? Like,
look at Mr.
what is this
Midwest that
about?
just strolled in here.
and his clean sneakers. Like, who is this guy?
But it's true. And look, and like I
Yeah,
said,
I did. I felt like a minority. I felt like they were looking at me like I was weird.
and well, like I kind of felt the same way because I mean I'm not tatted up. I don't have any of that look about me necessarily, but I mean I felt the same way. But I felt like a target, and I don't think you should ever feel that way. Like I felt like, oh, there's the mark. That's who we're going after. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And that's not a
I feel you.
pleasant feeling. And all you're trying to do is get a bite to eat.
Yeah,
right. I mean, like that was uncomfortable.
just trying to fit in.
Yeah, I'll go get some tatted sleeves. I'll get some tracks in my arms, and we'll all hang out.
Speaking, I got to tell this story just real quick. Stacy's gonna kill me for telling the story. Speaking of fitting in or not fitting in, so on our last day, right, we're taking the red eye, and you know, we had the morning broadcast, so 10:00 a.m. local time, 1 Eastern broadcast. So we're done by noon. You know, by the time we all meet and walk around a little bit and talk, whatever, we're done at 12:30. So we've got until 10:00 that night when our flight leaves, and our flight got delayed. So we've got like 10 or 11 hours to kill. So Stacy and I, we come back to the Airbnb that we were all at and pack up our stuff because I really just wanted to go to sleep because I was so tired from the 3 days.
I bet.
But we're like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just get in the car and let's just go and explore and see what kind of trouble we can get into. And which is always a bad idea with Stacy Moore, by the way.
Yeah,
because careful what you wish for. But no, we had a great day. We had a lovely day together in Oregon. Anyway, so we get in the car and we start driving. Anyway, so we end up at a brewery because we start our day. We actually did some sightseeing. You'd have been proud. We went to Multnomah, I think is what it's called, Multnomah Falls. It's like the second highest waterfall in the state, and we frolicked in the water together. Not really, but we did go see the waterfall, and I did a little hiking anyway. So then we started to kind of hop different places going back. We ended up at a brewery close to the airport, and we walk into this place. And speaking of being out of place, you know, we walk in and there's tables to the left and tables to the right, and we see there's a buffet of food to the left. So we're like, okay, well maybe this is a place you just, you know, like a buffet. You just go in, grab a plate, and eat some food. So we just, you know, the two of us just being punks, not even really looking around. We go over to the buffet, check out the food, and then all of a sudden I'm looking around and I'm like, they're all kind of looking at us. By this point, I'm kind of used to it because it's day 3 in Portland. And again, I got my clean sneakers on and my jeans and my clean T-shirt. And they're all looking at me. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, Stacy, I'm like, I think this is like a private party. I'm like, I don't think we're supposed to be here. Yeah. And so he doesn't say a word. You know, he just about face and walks to the other side of the room. Mm-hmm. And so we go to the other side, follow the rules, get the QR code, find a table. And then as we come back towards this area to pick up our food at the front of the store, I noticed that what we walked into was a celebration of life for this guy who had passed away. So I'm like, Stacy, I went to get the food.
Awake,
Stacy's
nice
over there.
Work.
Stacy's over there on his phone. So I'm like, so while I'm waiting for my food at the counter, I text him. I'm like, dude, that was a celebration of life that we totally just walked into and crashed. I'm like, I feel like the biggest jerk. I look over and because I can see his reaction. You know, he's looking at his phone. As soon as he gets my text, he looks up at me and his eyes are just huge, just like, no way. And we just died laughing. I felt like the biggest jerk.
Nice work, man.
Yeah, we did go over and pay our respects. I felt terrible. That was awful. So here I felt out of place all weekend, and then we walk into a celebration of life like two punks just looking for food.
Yeah, you just crashed awake.
Yeah, like we're walking up to a trough to feed me, you know, like animals.
God. That's hysterical, actually.
Yeah, that's brutal.
But yeah, Portland is and I like some of the weird, to be honest.
I do too.
Like that place that was
alternative style. Yeah.
Yeah, that place that was kind of right in our neighborhood. So that's out in Beaverton, not technically downtown Portland, anywhere near any of that stuff. That Greek Village place was kind of weird.
Yeah, in a good way.
That was probably more mainstream than you're going to get anywhere in Portland, except for it wasn't. But it was. It's interesting. It's an interesting town. But it was like when I visited back in the 90s, I didn't have the same feeling. It was still weird and it was cool and it was different from, like, say, the Southeast. But it just didn't feel as dirty and it didn't feel as just kind of out of control. Like it felt like to me, like, you know, the phrase inmates are running the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like to me. It
Yeah,
felt
I
like there
feel
was
about
no
that.
Law and Order, and I'm not Mr. Law and Order. I mean, I get it. You have, but you do. You have to have certain.
Yeah.
There is a societal line somewhere,
Right.
right? Like if you want society to function properly, there has to be somewhere where the lines are, and
Yeah.
there's no lines in Portland. Everything's crossed,
I
and
know. I know.
it's
And like you
bizarre.
said, unfortunately, it's gotten so bad. It's going to take a while. Yeah. We were back there, and Jade will have to correct me on this, but our band was in Portland back in the 90s.
Nice.
And I can't remember if we were there because we did a little West Coast tour. And Portland was one of our stops. I can't remember if it was just meeting with an agent or if we actually played. I want to say there was I can't remember out there. I'm sure Jade, once he watches this, he'll know. He remembers everything. But I do remember Portland back in the 90s being exactly like what you said. A very alternative lifestyle, but but in a clean way.
Yeah.
And it was a very safe town to walk around in. And I remember it being beautiful and just it's different than it obviously was now. Very different.
Big shout, Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Portland. Yeah, Portland Tourist Bureau.
It is beautiful. How about the big tunnel that we had to go through in the middle of the
Sure.
mountain to go out to Beaverton? You go through this huge tunnel on the side of the mountain, and there are homes built up that side of the mountain above the
Yeah, that's
tunnel.
gorgeous.
It was terrific.
Yeah,
I mean,
gorgeous.
again, some really great, beautiful places. But all right, one more one more travel thing. You said you want to talk about first class versus main cabin. I have no idea what this is about.
All right. So what I did was I
What
wasted
happened?
some miles. I don't like long flights. I don't think anybody likes long flights.
Did
Right?
you upgrade?
I upgraded, and I
Wow, good for
wasted.
you.
Yeah, it was a lot of miles though, and so. But I did it. I got up in first class, and man, what an
Yeah.
absolute difference. I actually almost got up at one point and turned around and said, "Look at the peasants in the back." I mean, it is completely a different vibe up front.
It's
I mean,
great, isn't it?
oh, it's so much more fun. I mean, it's not the first time I've been up there, but it was just like I was taking it all in. I wasn't taking it for granted. I was kind of noticing all the different little touches.
Oh, it's
It's
so comfortable. Even the flight is smoother. It's
yeah,
quieter.
everything's better.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everything's
Everything.
the air's better. I promise you, they've got more oxygen up front.
The air. Oh
It
no,
it
it's great.
is
Do,
it
do,
is so different.
you probably don't. You probably don't. But I think I know the answer to this question. But I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one because maybe I'm a little oversensitive with certain things. I when I sit in first class, I'm starting to get
Oh, I'm
over it
not looking
now.
up at those people.
I know. Don't you feel
I've got
bad?
blinders on.
I feel terrible.
No,
I'm
I
sitting there in
don't.
first class,
I'm
and
like, get in the back, jerk.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd say that. I'm feeling all guilty. I'm like trying not to be seen. And you're
all
like,
it takes is money.
can you guys get in your seat so we can get the hell out of here?
Hustle up, will you?
Hurry up. I love it.
You
I
and
knew you were
Main
going to say that.
3, get out.
You and me. Oh my god.
Yeah, trust me. I'm in the. As a matter of fact, my next flight, I'm in the back row, so I get it. I get it.
You're
Yeah.
going to start flying first class. You're going to be totally judgmental. You're sitting there like group 5. Get out of here.
Please hustle.
Group 5.
You and your 25 bags. Someone
right.
make that person check that stuff.
Oh man, that is funny.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that.
It's so different. No, I mean it is. I never looked up because people are kind of looking at you like, oh, you've already got a drink, and we just walked on the plane.
I know.
But,
I feel bad. I do.
And it's real glass. They give you your drinks in.
It is real glass.
Yeah.
But see, it's interesting because I also feel bad. Like I feel guilty, right? So I'm just sitting there like this, hoping I don't see anyone, see me in first class. But then, and sometimes I feel guilty, with the glass, sir, can I get you anything? While everyone else is having a terrible time waiting for people to board in the back, and everyone's all hot and sweaty and angry. So I feel bad having something. But then if I tell the flight attendant no, like I feel like a couple of times I've been sitting next to a guy, who gets a glass of red wine, and then I say no, I'm okay, and he looks at me like, what do you mean you're okay? You will have a glass of wine with the rest of us in first class.
Get a hot towel for Christ's sake.
I felt bad for saying no.
Yeah.
God.
No, I did not say no. One of the reasons why I set up there was for the drink service because it's a long flight. But I
Yeah.
mean, the amount of miles I wasted to do it, I took full advantage of it.
Yeah, I would too. If you're gonna
I just hate
if you're
like
gonna
the
spend the
long
miles to
flight.
do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
the long flight out there. I was like, oh my god, that is an absolute nightmare. I'm not. I can't do it again because we had just gone, Arizona back out to Portland, and all
Yeah.
this is in like a 5-day stretch, right? And I was just like, I'm not flight back, wasting some miles. I'm going first class, and it was
Yeah.
great.
Boy, everybody is so tired. It has been. I mean, I'm tired, and I shouldn't complain because I missed the Arizona trip. So you guys all
I got
had
to
one
drive
long.
to. I've got to drive to Charlotte as soon as we're done taping. Not that that's a
Yeah,
long way, but it's 4 hours.
yeah. Hey, at least we get this weekend off, and then
Birthday weekend, Jeff.
off to
What?
Minneapolis. It's your birthday this weekend.
Well, Monday.
Hey,
Mm-hmm,
all right.
mm-hmm.
Happy
What's
early
up?
birthday.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're being jerks, you want to talk about this baby goat thing?
I do want to talk about it because it's going to come
I
off.
shouldn't even intro it that way because
It's not.
when we make comments, by the way, not to sound like Colin Cowherd, but he yeah, on his sports talk show, he says it all the time. This is not personal.
It's not
When we're
personal.
talking about, because we respect the hell out of every single one of our players, totally do, totally
Mhm.
respect the level of play that most of them are at. So when we make comments, when we put people in the top 10, take people out, it's not personal. It's never personal. I mean, I love that our players give me access to talk to them 24/7. I've mentioned this multiple times. I can call Jamie Graham. I can call
Yeah.
Cheyenne. I can call call Matt Guy and have a conversations. I love that access. So when we make certain comments about certain people, it's really, well, most of the time it's not personal.
Yeah. No, and what I
But
was talking.
this one does bother me a little bit though. So let's just do it.
And so, like, all right, so the baby goat thing, Alex Hicks, is a
Yeah.
tremendous young man and a tremendous player. He hit a penguin this weekend in the pro blind draw that was absolutely insane. It's the toughest shot in cornhole. He hit it. He had Brevin Valdivia as a partner. He took him all the way, I think, to third place in the pro blind draw. I stayed and commentated there. So actually, for the first time in a couple of years, actually got to call a couple of his matches, and he's on another level than a lot of players. But for whatever reason, he's not having success in nationals the way he does in other, like in opens and
Right.
in the blind draw he played really well, and I don't know why, because talent is remarkable. His
It's there.
talent is
Yeah.
absolutely remarkable, but he kind of, it's as if a lot of people have placed him as the best player of his age group, and he's not. And this is where
Yeah.
I got accused of recency bias because Jake Gore is a top 10 player, and Jake Gore is the same age. And when I say same age, I think they're within 6 months of each other birthday wise. I think
Yeah.
one
How did this happen? How did Alex Hicks get? I mean, I have
because he
not
qualified
seen
for a pro.
Alex Hicks on a broadcast. How did he get the baby goat? It's even on his jersey, baby goat.
Well, it's his brand, and so I give him credit
Okay.
for that. It's his brand. I mean, that's his thing. And I'm cool
Okay,
with
that
that.
makes more sense then.
And he made pro division first, right? He did these things first and at a very young age. So I'm not, look, once again, not knocking the kid at all, but if you look at rankings, I think Alex Hicks is 24th, somewhere in there. Ian Cripps is 33rd, and they're the same age. But
Yeah.
Jake Gore's in the top 10, and he's the same
And
age.
Alex, I couldn't even find Alex finishing in the money in Portland.
Yeah, and I don't know
I couldn't even
why.
find his name. And you're right, he is 20. He is currently 24th in the world rankings, but I don't think he even placed in the money
And
in
it's just, I
Portland.
don't get it, because when you watch him play, Jeff, it's next. He's able to hit shots that people that are ranked ahead of him can't hit. So there's something in there that's happening in nationals, whether it's just having, it's unlucky where you have a bad game at the absolute worst time,
Yeah.
right? And then you end up, or you get a terrible draw somewhere in there, and then you drop down, and it's another terrible. Like, there's ways to be unlucky. Look, there's people that get pretty good draws, right? Like somehow they for whatever reason, the way that the rankings work, they get a fairly clean trip, and then other people, because of the rankings, the way they work, someone had a terrible national, then all of a sudden they've got a lower ranking, and you're playing talent-wise one of the best players in the world in the first round, and like stuff happens. But I just, like, we anointed him the best player of that age bracket last year, and I think it's time that we absolutely have to rethink that, because right now the best player that of the 13, 14-year-olds is Jake Gore, and it's not really as close as people think it is, because
Yeah.
he's getting results. He's absolutely getting results in singles.
Yeah, and not even, as you mentioned, not even the best of the 14-year-olds,
Yeah,
13,
he's
14
one
year olds, but one of the best in the world, period,
right.
of any age group.
And I got accused, and the reason I brought it up is because I got accused of, it's like, dude, that's just so recency. I was like, but that's sports. We're not
Yeah,
talking about last year. We're not even talking about 6 months ago. We
right.
have to talk about what's happening now, who's the best player now. And that's why when I looked at this top 10 list, and I kind of making it like looking at Tony Smith not being in there, but you can't argue to me that he's not one of the top 10 players in the world right now. He had a
Oh, I
terrible
think you,
first
yeah,
national,
I think you
right?
absolutely. If you're doing a top 10 list right now and don't have him on your list, then, as Trey Ryder says, then you don't know cornhole.
Yeah.
Got to be in
And
there.
so I am taking a recency bias stance, but Jake Gore is the best of those young players. Now, after we talked about it, I thought about it for a good while the next day, because they are so young, and I don't want to ever blast them as players, because they're too young to do that too. And that's the unfortunate
Right.
thing about our sport, is that 13, 14-year-olds can qualify to be professionals, and our job is to treat them like professionals, which is tough, because I don't have a problem talking about a 25-year-old man and saying, you know what, the game's not there. You're doing something wrong.
Right.
You're spending too much time doing this. You're not concentrating enough. You're not being a professional. I don't ever want to be that way with young players. And I think I did it one time with Ian Cripps last year, and I felt awful about it, because it's like, it's a child.
Yeah, they're teenagers. Yeah, they're
Children. I mean, barely
yeah,
teenagers. Like, they're not
yeah.
18, they're 14. And
Right.
and it's like, it's so hard, but a player of that magnitude, talent wise, and he's starting to grow. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's hit his first like growth spurt, like his jerseys, everything's getting tight, his
A
voice
little
is
bit.
dropping, that whole process, right? So it's so interesting to watch that happen.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, we are. We're gonna watch these kids grow up. It's
I mean, we
crazy, isn't it?
literally are. As long as they stay
Yeah.
in the sport, we're literally going to watch them go from preteens to it's bizarre. But Alex Hicks for a while he was the baby goat. He was the best of the young players. And I think that's just not the case as it stands right now. As it stands right now, Jake Gore is the best of the young players
Yeah.
by a good bit. And I think it's his attitude, quite frankly. I think it's that's a tough-minded kid. Not to say that Ian Cripps and Alex Hicks and some others aren't tough-minded, but Jake Gore's got a swagger about him that is different from some of these other kids, and maybe that's what's getting him through some of these tough matches. He's finding a way to kind of will himself through it. So but right now he's the best of those young players.
Well, knowing that Hicks, that this baby goat thing is his brand, that's something he's like run with. That explains it a little bit for me, because I don't know. There's something about that when I saw that on his jersey this weekend that got me talking about it with you and a
Yeah.
few others. So
I
the
mean,
other thing that we're
it works, right? People love it. It's a great little tagline. Basically, he's the baby goat. But then you look at,
but I feel like you kind of got to, if you're gonna, I feel like
got to live up to it.
Yeah, I mean, like Matt Guy, there's a reason why everyone calls him the GOAT. I mean, it's all-time winningest player in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're gonna give yourself, some sort of tag, some sort of moniker, then it needs to be right to legitimize it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And we were talking about it that one night. It's like,
but maybe it's something that was kind of bestowed upon him.
Kind
that
of.
Maybe he felt, so I'm not again, he's a kid, so I'm not going to blame him. So maybe it's something that was kind of bestowed upon him, and he's just trying to make the best of it. But I don't know. I wouldn't want that on my back. I just wouldn't want that. It literally looks like a target on your back.
It is. And I feel bad for him because of it, because it was bestowed upon him, because he was at 12, all of a sudden someone worthy of the pro division, he and Ian Cripps, right? All of a sudden, here they are as preteens and have qualified to be professionals. And Alex kind of I was in Austin when he and Trey Birchfield won the shootout or won doubles at that shootout, or it was more blind. It was a blind draw that they ended up winning. And everyone was like, man, this kid's for real. This kid's the next big thing. And then I think someone started calling him the baby goat. And then either he or a family member was like, that's such a good moniker. We need to run with that. Let's create a brand, if you will. And so I don't think it was some sort of egotistical, I'm the shit kind of thing that he was doing. I think when I thought more about it after our conversation, because I don't want to be mean spirited at all, because he's a 14-year-old, right? He's not, he doesn't even know what he wants to do, 6 months from now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not thinking about the world like an adult would be. So I don't want to put adult type pressures, but he is playing a professional sport, which then we have to talk about. Right. And so, but I thought it was necessary to say that, right now he's not the best player of that age bracket.
Yeah, it was just something was just uncomfortable with me seeing that on the back of his jersey.
But who knows? What if we go through the next national, right?
Kills it.
And Detroit wins a bracket and makes a broadcast, does it in doubles as well, right? And then goes to the World Championships and does it again. Yes, we will recency bias. Baby Goat will be the baby. He'll be the GOAT, right? Like it is tough because, when you do have names like that, to your point, it is a target. It puts it all over you, especially when there are other people in your age bracket. And one of them is at this point markedly better this season than you are. And that's tough.
And, the other thing about this too, with recency bias and people, making comments about things that we rank or things that we see, what sometimes it's funny to be wrong.
I think it's great when I'm wrong.
Yeah,
people don't believe that because
you're going to be right and you're going to be wrong. It happens to every single national TV broadcaster, every single national radio broadcaster, podcaster. When you have to put yourself out there, no filters. Sometimes you're going to be right, sometimes you're going to be wrong. Which actually brings me to a segment that we want to start doing. You and I talked about a little bit in Portland. Like I want to start doing this like swing and a miss segment or something like that. Where we talk about 2 or 3 things that we nailed and 2 or 3 things that we missed, because 100%. I definitely missed on Ryan Windsor this past weekend.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it happens, but I really felt like his game was really trending in the right direction after Erie. And but boy, was I was
off, man. I mean, it's just
yeah.
And it got brought up on Twitter. There were some tweets about it, and one of my responses to some of these tweets was like, the top 20 is the new top 10. There's just so many good players going through that second 10 and looking at the rankings. If you're a top 20 player in the world right now, you're out of your mind good. Seriously, because the talent level is so deep, and they're playing, like you said, they're playing at such a high level.
Yeah.
That players have learned, even the ones that play what we call a quote unquote dirty game, that have, they try to manufacture points instead of just sliding the hole all the time. Well, a lot of those players have started sliding in the hole a lot more, and then picking and choosing spots when to make it uncomfortable for their opponent. And like Caleb Batson this past weekend, speaking of another teenager, even though he's an older teenager, he was out of his mind, dude. The dude was out of his mind.
And I feel like he's been having a really good season, because he's been in my kind of others receiving votes category in my top 10. I mean, he's been right there on the outside looking in. But I was going to say, to your point of the top 20 being the new top 10, I mean, I've got my top 10. We'll get to it here in just a second. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other names. So I really have 17.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Just off the top of my head. But real quick, before we get to our top 10s,
sure.
I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And sorry to just kind of sneak this on you and drop it on you. Do you feel like are you a fan of dynasties, like in golf and even in our sport in cornhole? Do you think it would be like, I thought it was really exciting to me. Maybe I am a dynasty guy. Maybe I like dynasties in sports, because I thought it was really cool what Mark Richards did last year, and everyone was trying to knock him off, right? And it made that win by Jay and by Jordan at the end of the year really special, right? Because everyone was gunning for Mark. And this year it was Justin Burton Jr., who took the sport by storm after that first national. I think in my mind, I was really rooting for someone like to take that spot, and be that dominant national person. And then this weekend, I so badly wanted it to be Tony Smith. I mean, are you a dynasty guy? I mean, do you feel like the sport would be better?
I think all sports are better when there is a team or a player that is who everyone wants to be. It makes the sport better. It makes it more interesting. I think so too. When it's trading off this person, that person, this team, that team. I mean, you can look at the ratings of the bigger sports. When it's like that, not as many people are interested, because what makes the New York Yankees so great in baseball is when they're winning World Series, half the people love them and half the people
People hate
detest them, right?
Yes.
And it's so much better for the sport in general because everyone pays attention. When
Yeah.
it's a ton of different people, yes, the diehards, the people that are really ingrained in the sport, kind of like that because they like to see other people that are really good get their due respect. But from an average fan perspective, it's like, anyone can win. It's no big deal. It's not that great, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like you're not the average fan isn't seeing the greatness that certain people
Like,
that
how great would it be in golf right now if all of a sudden Brooks Koepka just starts rattling off majors? Because people hate him, right?
right.
Half people love him, half people hate him. He could be the Yankees. I mean, he really could.
I mean, that's what made Tiger so great. As
Yeah.
most people, a lot of people loved Tiger, but there were plenty of people that are like, man, I'm so tired of this guy winning. I'm going to pull for all 170 other players that are in this
Yeah.
field, and I'm going to pull as hard as I can for them to beat this guy. And that's
Yeah.
you need that. Sports need that. And right now, we're kind of in this flux where there is this person's hot for 3 months, then it's this person or this doubles team's hot for 3 months, and then it changes. And it's. I'm with you. I think all sports are better when they have dynasties.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that because like, and again, this is not personal, so don't mistake what I'm about ready to say. I mean, we root for storylines is what we do in the media. We root for storylines, and it has nothing to do with people individually. It's just like coming into this season, would have been really cool if Mark Richards kept it up, right? I mean, it would have been really cool. I mean, that target on his back would have been huge. And then Justin Burton Jr. kind of stole a little bit of that from him. So then we're like, all right, maybe JBJ is going to be that guy, right? And then Alex Rawls comes in and kills it, right? And then we're like, okay, maybe Alex, and then Tony comes in. It's like okay, now maybe Tony, and then Tony loses in singles and doubles. And you're right. It's just that
Tony won a bracket
that we think is going to.
I think at our level in nationals. Winning a bracket is kind of like going to the Final Four. Yeah, I mean
But on the national stage, then he loses, and now Fisher Hamilton, is he that guy? I think I keep rooting for that dominant person to come and win several because it's just I don't know, maybe like I said, maybe I like.
I'm with you. I think it makes the sport better because it makes everyone so interested, right? Like someone's got to beat this guy. Someone's got to beat this guy, right?
Yeah.
And we're in a flux right now where there's so many good players. I mean, there's just so many good players that all it takes is a couple of good breaks. I mean, look, as great as Mark Richards was last year, Alex Rawls is a couple of matches away from having that season. That's what people forget. He was on TV as much as anybody. He just didn't have his best games on TV. And so Mark, was able to kind of outlast people and be that guy. And it's just, I mean, Mark's still Mark Richards. Mark's still Mark Richards, man. I mean, he won another bracket, right? Did he win that bracket?
I know.
I mean, he's still that guy. And so I think that I don't know. I'm with you, though.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Ready for the top 10?
I guess.
Because we're running out of time again. All right, who goes first? I can't ever remember who goes first.
You can go first this time. I went first.
Okay. All right, this is a tough one. And number 10, I'm keeping him in the top 10 because he's been in my top 10 since we first started doing our power rankings. So I'm keeping him in there. Jake Gore, number 10. Number 9, Jamie Graham. Glad to see Jamie back. I still think he's capable of beating anybody. And I just felt like in my heart when I was putting together this list, he's going to beat a lot of people and did beat a lot of people this past weekend in Portland. So I'm doing Jamie Graham, number 9. I dropped Alex Rawls, believe it or not, all the way down to number 8. And that might seem strange, but I just, when you have a player who is so good, but then also can drop so far, it's a little bit of a red flag to me. So that's why I dropped Alex to number 8, but no doubt about it, he's still got to be in there. Number 7, Matt Guy. Matt is just another one of those guys. I just, when I watch him play, I still can't believe how he's done it all these years. But he's still, in my mind, a top 10 player. I got him at number 7. Devin Harbaugh, who we tagged last week as the best player to never win a major, a title, a national, whatever you want to say, depending on the sport. I've got him at number 6. Again, rooting for that dude to one of these events win that first national. He's never done it. Number 5, even though he didn't have a good weekend, I'm still going to keep Justin Burton Jr. in a number 5, Bernie, because I still feel like right now, if we took these players and put them on a court, he's going to destroy a lot of guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think
I'm
he's
with
going to. So I got him at number 5. Caleb Batson, again, I've had him on the outside looking in. I might have Caleb a little bit high at number 4. Mentally, I'd like to see some of these players who are playing so well. Mentally, I'd like to see them a little bit stronger. So I might have Caleb a little bit high. He's been just on the outside of my top 10 looking in. I've got him now at number 4 because he was phenomenal this past weekend. Love watching that dude play. Number 3, another guy who's been on my outside looking in, just on the outside. And again, maybe a little bit high, but what I saw this weekend, Fisher Hamilton. He's been right there, right? Maybe some nerves, the issue. Maybe need to be stronger mentally on the broadcast court, whatever. Definitely got over the hump this weekend. Dude crushed it. Loved watching him play. And he was in some tight matches, as you well know, and was able to persevere. I mean, loved his mental toughness down the stretch. The way he was pumping himself up, I loved watching him play because it was like he was saying to himself, not this time. I am not letting this one get away. Love that. Absolutely loved it. Number 2, Mark Richards. You were just saying it, Bernie. I mean, the level of competition is just incredibly high, but he's still there. Mark is still always there. And watching him play is special. He's got the same motion. It's so repeatable. It's so smooth. He's so smart. Now he's got that roll bag somehow with the pro sniper. Have no idea how he does it. But, great stuff out of Mark. And number 1, Tony Smith. Again, his mental game, I think he's got to get stronger mentally. He just does. What happened on the broadcast court is not acceptable. He's got to be stronger mentally. But his level of play, no doubt about it, is tops in the land, in my opinion. I think he can beat anybody. He's got to stay strong up here. He just has to. But right now he's my number 1.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't create a top 10. I really couldn't do it. I literally spent way too long thinking about it because the people I were like, what my original top 10 had Jake Gore out of it. It had how do I have Jake Gore out of it? Right. My original top 10 had Alan Rawls out of it. I noticed Alan wasn't in your top 10, but Alan Rawls continues to go deep in brackets.
Yep.
He's ranked number 3 in the world. And it's funny that he's not in your top 10 because I said
I can't figure it out.
It's amazing if you all 256 professionals and you said you don't have to put your name on it, but give us a top 10. I don't know how many he would be in.
Yep.
But if you look at what he's doing,
quick, here's how I did it. My top 10, basically, because Alan Rawls is one of the first ones out in my top 10. And I was thinking to myself, all right, one-on-one right now, if I had boards set up at this backyard behind me, one-on-one, who's winning against Alan Rawls? And I had each one of these players in a winner-take-all one game to 21 match. I had all these players beating Alan. I don't know if it would happen because Alan seems to have this magic, but for this week, that's mine.
I don't even know how I did this, to be honest. All right, Matt Guy won a bracket this weekend.
He's not in your top 10?
He is in my top 10.
Okay.
I have him and Jamie actually tied at number 10. I did another tie.
I almost did Alan Rawls at number 10 on mine.
And then I had
to have Alex higher.
Yeah, and I've got Alex Rawls at number 9. I don't know how I can have Alex Rawls at number 9. He's won a national. He didn't have a great event this weekend. Number 8, and it's my special number, right, is a player that I don't think gets enough love, but he's turned in a special season, especially on the double side, Jacob Trzynski.
Yeah.
I just don't think he gets enough love. And you talk about a guy that's been playing out of his mind. He's that guy.
It's the singles. It's the singles play, Bernie.
But I mean, he's a top 10 player. So look like he'll be a 2 seed in the next national. That puts him in the top 8.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't play well in singles this past weekend, but
I mean, he played. It's just.
I shouldn't say he didn't play well. He always plays well.
And I've got Alan drop down to number 7. I put Jake Gore back in at 6, and then I just think his ranking puts him there. And I like at some point you have to start paying attention to the rankings because this is who they are. We can say this, this is who this person should be. And I think we've been doing that with Jamie and Matt a little bit, even though Matt won his bracket. I think we've been doing that with them a little bit. This is who they can be. This is who they should be. Therefore, this is where I have them in my top 10. I had to look at these rankings because this is who they are.
And I only left you like 15 or 20 seconds.
Oh, all right. So then I've got JBJ 5. I've got Caleb Batson 4. Okay. I've got Devin Harbaugh 3. Mark Richards 2. And then because he won, I threw Fisher Hamilton at number 1, and that's just recency bias. You win the national, the next show I'm going to put you at number 1, and that's
where'd you have Tony?
That's what I mean. I had him originally on my list. Did I not say it? Oh, that's right. The new list, I had Jake Gore out. That's right. I had Tony.
I was
going
to say Tony's got to be in there.
I'm looking at 3 different lists right now on my thing.
Right,
yeah, Tony's in at 6. Sorry, Jake, remember, you're right there at 11.
Rosie's gonna hate us. We're over already.
All right, we're already over.
All right, dude. Good job. See you next week.
See you guys.
All right, bye, everybody.